Hey folks, thanks for listening to the Wanderings and Wool Gathering podcast. This is episode 22. I wanted to jump on before we started the episode to apologize in advance. We're currently working on some new systems to be able to bring in guests and to be able to edit more efficiently. And with that, there was some technical hiccups along the way. About halfway through the episode, you'll notice my audio starts to drop out. Teabags may skip a little bit here and there, and there's some pops and clicks. So, we're working to improve as we go along. That said, there's always some bumps in the road. But please stick around. Metalhead Mundy's here. We review the new Morton. We also have some fun with our weekly challenge, and a new weekly challenge will be on. Plus, new song at the end. Please stick around to listen. Thanks.
It's another episode of Wanderings and Wool Gathering. Here's Foggy.
Welcome to Wanderings and Wool Gathering, episode 22, Electric Boogaloo. It's the episode where we all come together to save miracles. We are recording live tonight on St. Patrick's Day. If we were to flip back through the pages of time, we would find that on this day in 1957, Elvis Presley bought Graceland for, are you ready for this? $102,000. A 10,000 square foot home on 14 acres for $100,000.
Crazy.
Well, I'm your host tonight, Foggy. With me, as always, are JPP.
What up?
What up? And back from assignment, Teabags.
Teabags, too hot for TV.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on? And back again this week, Metalhead Mundy.
Step inside into his mind. It's boy band time. It's
Metalhead Mundy.
How's it going, everybody?
What's happening?
Good to have you back. Speaking of just getting back, away on assignment last week was Teabags. What was going on?
Hey, well, I was part of I love a good conspiracy, so I was able to go up and meet with people at MIT, and we were going through to make sure that every Medea movie was timed to The Wizard of Oz, timed to The Dark Side of the Moon. It was complicated, so I won't go into it right now, but that's where I was.
Algorithms, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's what I figured.
And there's a new Medea movie coming out this year, by the way.
Awesome. Well, with the benefits of AI, I'm sure that kind of helped the process along. So we commend you for your efforts. And
Thanks.
I don't want to spill the beans, let it out of the bag, I should say. I'm trying to get that phrase all together. I know that while you were out, doing your reconnaissance there, you were also trying to score some pre-sale tickets to the Backstreet Boys for Metalhead Mundy.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to bring it up because, I'm sorry you had to do what you had to do, but if you can pay me back that bail money as soon as possible, that would really help out.
I'm working on it. Hopefully this paper on Medea will pay off. So
right on.
Anyway,
the efforts are greatly appreciated. I can assure you.
You're welcome. Anything to make your dreams come true. All righty.
Oh, Lord. All right. Anything new and exciting going on?
Yeah, I've got a quick story. Well, I'll make it as quick as I can. So you guys know last week my nephew gave me his extra ticket to go see Metallica.
Yes.
Figured I'd get that out of the way. Mind blowing. Of course, love the band, love seeing them live, but to be that close to awesomeness was a very surreal experience. I sent some photos around, the one in particular where I caught James Hetfield taking a quick glimpse at me. I was like, holy crap, it was great, and what's funny is I was looking at some interviews with him too, and he was talking about, one of the things that keeps him fired up is he looks around at the crowd and sees people fired up. He's like, I remember when I saw Motorhead and I was like, yeah, that is so cool. He's like, I look for people that are trying to give that kind of energy to us. And so I was trying to figure out, what made him look my way. We were singing Seek and Destroy, and so our whole section was just shouting, and he just happened to catch it because he was right there. So it was like perfect timing. It was a great show. I'll post the set list in the show notes, but they sprinkled a lot of stuff. They didn't play anything from Load. They played Fuel from Reload, and that was it. But everything else had a little bit of time. All the classic albums. Justice even had some stuff. They ended the night with Sandman, of course. That was part of their encore. But the stuff from Hardwired was pulled off effortlessly. If I can even say that, it takes a lot of effort tonight. But yeah, it was just really cool. And the part that really excited me the most was just seeing that Kirk and James pulled out some old historical guitars. James had his old white Flying V from back in the day, pulled out an old Gibson Explorer, and they're beat to crap, but still playing them. Even Kirk had one of his old Jackson V's, and of course all of his horror themed guitars are pretty rad to see in person as well. We also got some swag. He got what's called the Unforgiven package. So we got this box right here, and it also came with free copies of Through the Never. I've never seen it. I've not heard great things about it, but I'm going to watch it. I got basically, there's a pin, Metallica pin. There's a little keychain from the live Shit Binge and Purge logo, and then a Metallica guitar headstock bottle opener. So those will be cool pieces of swag to keep in memorabilia as well. Got a t-shirt and left smiling ear to ear just to be, to see those guys up front. One funny thing that James did, James was, he's Papa Het, he's Grandpa Het now, because he was pulling some silly jokes along the way. At one point, he was riffing and everyone was kind of going crazy, and he turned around and he smiled at everyone like this. He's like, hey, and everyone, I could see everyone kind of looking at him like, did he lose a tooth? And he gave everyone a kind of a dirty look like, ugh, and he pulled the pick out of his mouth and went back and started playing. And it was just effortless. The way he pulled it off, was just dying, because it was just like something your dad or your grandpa would do when you're a kid to goof off with you. So just that kind of positive energy through the whole set was incredible. I'm going to leave it at that. I wish you guys could have been there to experience it as well, because the rest of it was indescribable, but what a night. That's going to be definitely one I check off as one of the better nights of my life.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I wish we could have been there too, and I have nothing that can top a Metallica concert, so I don't know about you guys.
Well, I've seen them twice, and they're awesome. I've never been that close. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I got some cool pictures. And once we get the website up, I'll do a kind of a concert review, and I'll post some vids and pictures of the experience as well. I got a real cool one of Rob Trujillo, and he's kind of doing the guitar face. His eyes are closed shut, and he's just really into it. Some great ones of Kirk Hammett as well. It's just really weird to see him with white hair now. And Jim Brewer opened the show too, and that's one thing he said. It's like, you guys are going to get your ass kicked, and your first thing you're going to say is, whoa, Kirk has white hair. And it's just very entertaining across the board. It was not a dull moment. And one other last thing is, standing on concrete that long, especially in my 40s, is, it's a little grueling now than it was in my 20s. But once they came on, the adrenaline kicked in. I didn't feel it until the next morning. So,
you old fart.
Yeah, that's right. That's Mr. Old Fart to you guys.
All right. Well, that is fantastic, and nobody's topping that. So we're just going to get right to the challenge.
I do what I can.
We try as we might, it won't happen. So Metalhead issued the challenge this week. So go ahead and remind us, and then we will get going with the roundtable.
Yeah, my basic challenge was, I like to listen to albums. It's awesome when you can listen to an album front to back, and it's kind of one big piece. And with that in mind, I was thinking about your favorite album openers, and like the first track that comes on and just sets the mood for everything. And I kind of smudged the parameters there and said, like, if there was like some kind of little intro before the song, that's cool or whatever. So, but that's it. Album openers.
Hey, you can fudge the rules all you want. Teabags does it every week.
It's true.
Yeah. All right, Teabags, we're going to go ahead and start with you, because your 3 will be 10. So we'll just get rolling with you. What's your first one?
Well, the first one is my throwout one, because I saw you earlier today, but it's hard to not go into your favorite bands and just pick your favorite albums and then pick that song. So, of course, Somewhat Damaged would have made my list from Nine Inch Nails to Fragile, but tried to stay away from Nine Inch Nails as much as possible. So I would say my first one would be Rotten Apple by Alice in Chains for Jar of Flies. That was a nice switch up, and I think one of their better, they were alternating between kind of hard rock and metal and acoustic there for a bit, and I loved when that one came on, and it was a good time in my life too. So I can still picture driving around listening to that song. So that's my first one.
Sweet. No, that's a good choice, man. That's
Thanks.
in a band that's toured with Metallica and such, and has had some really solid hits in the day. I will say that though Lane is no longer with us and they have a new singer, I know there's a lot of mixed reviews about him, but I think he sounds great, and I think Jerry is still doing a great job with writing tunes. But anytime I do listen to the new stuff, I do begin to become quite nostalgic, and would long for Lane. But in the grand scheme of things, as they say in my daughter's first grade class, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. So
I like the new stuff too. They're really good. They're still putting out quality stuff, and Cantrell is Cantrell. It still sounds like Alice in Chains. So
exactly. Yeah.
I hate it. So we'll continue.
No,
I don't hate it. I just can't listen to it. I hate it. I mean, I really want to, and I just can't because I'm like Paul. I just think of what we're missing, and that's too bad because I'm sure I'm missing out somehow.
Yep.
All right, Paul, you're up.
Me. All right. Well, this was my exposure to metal back in the day. A good friend of Metalhead and I, Sir Winston, passed me a cassette for summer vacation, one Injustice for All by Metallica. He said, "Here, give this a listen." And I think he wanted it back before summer break, but it didn't happen. And that song, of course, is Blackened by Metallica. So I rewound the cassette to get it started. I just hear this menacing, high-pitched lead with some really just droning rhythm in the background fading in. And then all of a sudden, what just happened? My face is like, oh, and I've said it millions of times. It terrified me and delighted me at the same time. And as soon as that opening riff kicked in before the drums really started going to town, was quite incredible. So that's my first album opener choice.
That's a great one. They almost made my list, but I couldn't really decide between like Battery and Fight Fire with Fire and Blackened. It's like all of their albums open so strong.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and even with Hardwired to Self-Destruct, that opening track just wow. So
yeah.
I almost picked that, actually. I almost did.
We may have some overlap. I'll be interested to see how this goes.
Yeah. Hey, real quick before we go on, is anybody else, like Tony's sounded super glitchy on my end?
He's a little choppy. He's a little choppy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I didn't know if it was recording that way or if it was just me or what, but it's like super glitchy.
There was some hangups in last week's episode that it didn't do, but he's recording a backup, so worst case scenario, I'll just throw his backup in.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Gotcha. All right, I'll go next since you're the challenger, Mundy.
Okay.
We ready?
Yep. Go for it.
All right. My first one, I wasn't going to choose Rush, but mostly because they have songs like 2112, which is the first song, and it's an entire side of an album. It's 20 minutes long.
Don't lie.
But I did choose one.
Rush.
That's it. I'm going to come up with another one now. No, I'm just kidding. So from Moving Pictures, what I love about Tom Sawyer beginning that is it just hits with a beat first. There's no lead in. It's just that beat that starts off Tom Sawyer, and I love that. And then it just moves right into Red Barchetta and YYZ, and it really hits hard. And it sets the tone for that whole album. So that was my number one.
That's
shocking. That's a good choice. Yeah.
How about we ask your wife about that choice?
Yeah.
She loves it. Can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
She's merciless. I'm telling you. She abuses me over it, but whatever. All right, Mundy, what do you got?
Well, for my number 3, I picked one that was kind of a face melter for me. Back when I was a little baby metalhead, first getting into the really heavy stuff, I first discovered this little band called Slayer, and the album they had out at the time was I just lost the name of it. Oh my gosh.
Is it Seasons in the Abyss?
Seasons in the Abyss. Thank you. Well, the first track on that is a little ditty called War Ensemble, and it is pretty wicked. I mean, it comes in fast as can be, and it never lets up, and it's just wall to wall chaos and insanity, and it's Slayer being Slayer, and it's amazing, and that's kind of one of the songs that made me fall in love with them. And
Well,
I've always loved that one.
since that was my third choice, I'll have to go with the runner-up. But anyway,
Was it really?
yes, it was.
Nice.
Yeah, because I know we saw that on Headbangers Ball before the album came out, but as far as like before I got a hold of the copy of the album, but when bought the CD and threw it on, and that was the opener. It's like, all right, we're in for a real ride. That was at the time probably some of the fastest guitar work I'd heard.
That was the first Slayer album I ever bought myself. And of course, I went back and listened to earlier stuff, but that was the first one I ever got myself. And if I remember correctly, when I got it, it was the same thing for me. Like Paul said, like it kind of scared me, but I was like, oh, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I've been a fan ever since. So.
And it's funny too, because that album and before, like the past, those all had kind of a certain raw nature to the sound of them. And then after that, when music production became a lot more high quality and more readily available, you started hearing thicker guitar. I mean, everything was thick then too, but there was still a kind of a raw punk vibe to that thrash at that time.
See, I would contribute that to Dave Lombardo, because after Seasons he left. So
yeah, very valid point.
At first, I thought you were going to say that came in like a wrecking ball, which would have stolen Tony's number 2. So I'm glad you didn't.
Yes,
me too. I don't want to step
Teabags, you're up.
Yes, but there's a good visual there if you picture a wrecking ball and teabags.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Well, before you continue, have you seen Ron Jeremy do the parody of Wrecking Ball?
Yeah.
Don't.
No, I have not.
You should.
No, I have not.
Go do that and then go to confessional immediately after. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Noted. Okay. So are we doing these in order? Like we're working towards our number 1?
I don't have mine in order like that.
Mine was number 1 first. So
yeah, I was, but it doesn't really matter.
Okay, I kind of was too, but it doesn't matter to me either. Okay, well, I would say next up for me would be White America by Eminem.
Nice.
I felt like, that was going to set the tone not only for how that next album, the dreaded sophomore album, would be for him, but the pretty much the rest of his career. Just the kind of like, I don't give a, and that's how he operates.
Cool.
Nice.
I can't say that I know that tune. I'll have to go check it out.
It's fantastic.
It is. It's like it's a commentary right back to everybody once he got famous. It's like he was setting the tone for how he was going to be pretty much. And even to this day, like with Kamikaze, it opens very similarly as far as same attitude, which is kind of cool.
Right on.
Yeah, all right. Paul.
All right. Well, along the same vein, you'll see a pattern. While you guys know I love electronic music, tunes set the mood and they're great, but these are ones that just, smacked me right in the face and really woke me up and got me ready to listen to the album. So the problem with electronic music is there's a lot of consistent elements, and you've heard, one synthwave tune, you start to hear them all. I love the genre, but thrash metals, especially given just got off the Metallica train, it's hard to let go of that this week. But second tune was one that Mundy and I saw on Headbangers Ball. I think we may have even been together when the video premiered, but it was Holy War's The Punishment Due by Megadeth off of Rust in Peace. And
that was my number 1, you jerk.
Yeah, well, hey, I told you we'd probably have some overlap, but
are you two dating each other? These sound like dating songs.
Why? What have you heard? But
I heard
with parallel lives.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
But nonetheless, that track just really set the mood. It followed with Hangar 18, and it just was a ride all the way through. That's one of those albums you listen to cover to cover, from start to finish, and don't miss a beat. So I remember spending countless hours trying to get that riff down, and then Winston's like, "Hey, I got it. Here, check it out. What did you do?" And he slows down for me, and I still couldn't get it for the longest time. So that was part of our competitive nature, is we would certainly try to out riff each other, but he won that one.
Nice.
Very cool. That really sucks. You stole his. Quick, Mundy.
Yeah.
Time to audible.
Holy Wars is, as far as I'm concerned, that is one of the greatest metal songs ever written and performed. It is the single greatest thrash metal song ever written and performed, and nothing can touch it.
Well, when you have Marty Friedman and Nick Menza in the roster, there's no topping that team. I mean, Marty was is very diverse. For those who play guitar, his picking technique has always intrigued me. I can't do that.
It's weird looking.
It is, but he pulls it off so well, and he uses it to do a lot more of like the hammer-ons and pull-offs, for a quick example. And he uses it all to his advantage, and just hearing him with Mustaine it's certainly missed. I mean, the other guys have been great too, but Marty just had a certain edge that nobody can emulate.
Yeah,
It was a great track. Yeah.
All right, my number 2 is from Slipknot, Iowa, which in my estimation is their best record. And it came off of, their self-titled album where, they had some songs where they did some rapping in there. And I think there were some parallels to Korn or Limp Bizkit or something. And so when they came out with Iowa, it was basically an FU to everyone. And it starts off with 515, which kind of repeats. And I did the 2 because it's really a lead in, and it just repeats the word death. And then it goes into people equal shit, which really starts driving this record and the anger, and that gets eventually to the Heretic Anthem, which is basically saying we are not like everyone else. And I think that set the course for the rest of their albums, and it is definitely my favorite of theirs.
Yeah,
nice.
That's a good pairing.
Cool.
I mean, from that lead into people equal shit, you got me started listening to them, and I've really been paying attention to that. It's a really good combination, I think.
Speaking of Slipknot, have you ever I can't remember what song it is, but have you seen the Radio Disney remix of one of their live performances?
Radio Disney? No.
Yeah,
if you know the link, send it to me.
I will send it. It's hilarious because they're playing everything in a major key and the vocals are clean, and they're doing a complete reenactment of the song note for note, and like they sync it to the video, and it's a live video. And so when Corey goes, "Get your effing hands in the effing air," like he's like all happy and peppy about it. "Get your effing hands in the effing air," and it's great. And they also did "Angel of Death" that way too, and it's all clean tone with major chords, and he's singing like all happy and peppy, "Angel of Death," and all this kind of stuff. So I'll put those links in the show notes. It's comedy gold.
Awesome.
So you said "F you," I could just see that being on Iowa in a major key. So.
All right, Mundy, you're number 2.
Okay, well, since Paul stole my number 1, I'm going to bump
You're
my
welcome.
number 2 up to number 1 and use one of my honorable mentions here. Staying in the baby metalhead zone, I'm going to go with Among the Living from Anthrax.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
And Anthrax is my favorite band ever. I have an Anthrax tattoo on my leg. This Among the Living is kind of their big iconic album, a la Master of Puppets for Metallica, and same kind of deal. It's the one everybody kind of gravitates to, and the title track is the lead-in track, and I mean it's just kind of starts out with a kind of a clean tone and kind of builds, and it's just that song is kind of everything that Anthrax is. It tells a story. It's actually based on Stephen King. It's based on The Stand, actually. And because they were big Stephen King fans back in the day, they wrote several songs about his books and stuff. And it's just a great song, great lyrics, awesome grooves, kind of, lots of different parts in it. It's that song is everything that embodies Anthrax, and it's an awesome way to kick off that album. There you go.
Changed it a little bit for copyright purposes. Yeah.
Oh,
And a
cool.
couple times we've seen them live. You can't go wrong. Well, that was a weird glitch. But anyway, just hearing them play some of those old stompers is live is an incredible experience as well.
I'm the walk-in dude.
That's right.
All right, Teabags. We're up to round 3.
Yep.
The finale.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay. I still love that.
You're still welcome.
Yeah. I would say I was trying to think of something that kind of just blew me away as far as something I hadn't heard really before. And so I remember hearing Prelude, The Family Trip off of Marilyn Manson's An American Family.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's the Willy Wonka
Yeah.
redo made in, and then it goes right into Cake and Sodomy. And that was just such an odd thing to hear. Like I don't think anybody could expect that. And
No.
And that whole album for me was great.
And what a wild ride to see them live with Trent back in the day, too, you know?
Yeah. I have a good story about that
yeah.
too.
I actually Trent came back or not, maybe no, was that, I can't remember if it was that time or not. It must have been that time because he probably wasn't in Muncie twice. I wouldn't have been, but he someone said that he was playing piano. Trent was playing piano at the High Hotel downtown, and I went down there and I had a leather jacket that I had painted a Nine Inch Nails thing on the back, and I went to the bar and was kind of waiting to see if I could catch him, and somebody came by and they were like, "Hey man, nice jacket," and I said thanks, and I turned around and it was Marilyn Manson, and
Wow.
so I got to talk to him for a few minutes, yeah, and it was cool. He was, I mean, obviously you've seen him on talk shows and stuff. He's a pretty normal guy for the most part off stage, but yeah, so that was really interesting trying to catch a glimpse of Trent and getting a compliment from Marilyn Manson. So.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome.
I think he's recording a new album right now. I think I saw something today.
He's finishing it up, I think. Quick story about that. I remember that was one concert where we went and stood in line to buy tickets for it at Karma Records.
Yep.
And when we got in there, I think it said something about Marilyn Manson was opening up for them, and we're like, who the hell is that? We've never heard of him. So when we got the tickets, we bought the album too. I bought the cassette. And then when we were in my car headed back, I think it was Paul and I believe Jeff Little was with us.
That sounds right.
And maybe somebody else, I don't remember. But we popped that in and it started on that intro and I was like, whoa, this is trippy. And then that beat starts on Cake and Sodomy and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then he says that first line and I was like,
yeah,
excuse me? What did he say?
Yeah. I think it's like virgin sold in quantity or something.
No, that is not the first line. The first line is I am the
I am the god. Yeah. Gotcha.
So and I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. And that is still one of my favorite songs of theirs.
We'll catch him on Ed Sullivan, folks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every time I hear the phrase Cake and Sodomy, I think of Eddie Izzard's bit talking about give me liberty or give me death. And he's like, he switches. It's like cake or death, and it's like cake or death, cake, please. Oh, all right, here you go. And all that kind of stuff. And eventually he's like, we're going to run out of cake at this rate. We're out of cake. Well, then give me the chicken. That wasn't an option, but cake or sodomy, folks. Choose one. Anyway, I digress. Excuse me.
All right. Paul, you're number one.
My number one, well, technically my number one was Blackened. Since Mundy and I had some steals, I quickly referred to my fourth choice that I didn't write down, but I wrote it down. It's the opener from a little band you guys may not have ever heard, at least heard of, called Obituary. The track is Infected off of Cause of Death.
Yes.
Talking about one that scares the living shit out of you. When Donald Tardy starts singing, you're like, oh my God, this guy came out of a coffin and just started screaming. He's just got this growl that just lingers, and it rose the hair on my arms, at 14, 15, however old I was when I was listening, and I, was able to grow some hair on my arms. Anyway, just the way the chords were, the way the the voice was with it, and then it goes into some breakneck speeds later on, and of course the lyrical content is always kind of gory and that kind of thing too. Not nearly as bad as Cannibal Corpse, but nonetheless, the whole experience was just a wild ride. And actually, the first time I heard it, Mundy played me a snippet off of his cassette over the phone back when landline could translate audio pretty well. And then I immediately went out and bought it on CD, and then, had it. And then I remember while I'm coming in, what the hell is this? It's a band called Obituary. I don't like it. Go take it back. And, okay, whatever. And I never did, of course, but listened to it on headphones at that point for a while. But yeah,
such a terrible influence.
Well, it could have been way worse for sure. If music was my drug, I'll gladly take it, because I certainly found myself diving into my guitar a lot more than, trying to go out and get in trouble. In fact, quick story, one time Mundy and I and our high school band Ringfinger went off to play a party with a bunch of our peers, and I didn't tell my mom about it because I knew she was going to say no. And, I got an ass chewing for that, to say the least. But then my older brother got into some drama, and they kind of forgot about mine. It's like the worst thing I did was go and play guitar for my friends for the night, and he went off and did something stupid. And I think he even, they even had to bail him out. So I don't know. But nonetheless, I'll gladly take music over any other drama, because it's been, quite the therapy in my life.
Yeah. What was the name of that song again?
Infected.
Mm-hmm.
Quick note about them, Obituary, they're still putting out great music, and Donald Tardy, the vocalist, he has not lost a step, man. He sounds as crazy as ever, and he is one of my favorite death metal singers, whatever you want to call him, but vocalist.
Yeah.
But they're one of the greats, man.
Absolutely. And no disrespect to Trevor Perez, because he seems like a really cool fella, and he's a great guitar player. But when I opened up the liner notes and I saw the band photos, Trevor had like kind of dark circles under his eyes. It was natural. It wasn't made up.
Terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he really fit that image, and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is the Walking Dead, and he's playing guitar in this band, and it just epitomized the potential evil. But no, it was a wild ride, and I think Mundy, you shared the link on Facebook that death metal brings joy in people's lives.
Yeah, I did.
That's not the negative effects that people think it would be.
Yeah.
They must have a excellent marketing team too, because I see them in the paper every week.
Wow.
Where's our drum roll? Quickly.
I'm going to just say we missed that a lot last week.
It was fun listening to you guys, though, as a listener.
Awesome. Yeah. And, by the way, did you like my write-ins for your challenge?
Well, did I like them, or did I think they were funny? That's two different things. Yeah, well, it was great.
I could have gone full Seth Rogen on you, but, again, I withheld restraint. So
yeah, that's why we're friends, Paul.
That's right.
All right. Who's up?
All right.
Stevie?
So my number one is the title track off of Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, the piano intro leading into the sprawling 2-disc set.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that leads into Tonight. I thought that was just a perfect entry into that album that was, pretty, they really went all out. I mean, I think it was conceptually supposed to be an entire day, the two albums put together, the day and the night. And so I think it really kicked it off. For an album that's as sprawling, and at the time it felt like they were really trying to tread some new ground there, after Siamese came out before that. So I love that piano intro.
Yeah. I think
nice
that's
choice.
Underrated as an album because it was so long, but I love it.
Yeah. When I worked at the record stores, I remember we had tons of it. I mean, we were going through it like crazy, but we stocked it so heavy. You guys remember the racks where all the CDs were placed and everything. We had to put them on the floor underneath because they were taking up so much space that we couldn't put other artists in the S section. And so it's like, all right.
That was, pretty hefty packaging.
Yeah, it would, but it was cool. I mean, of course, that was well after the long boxes had gone away. But yeah, they certainly stocked them deep, and it was a well-deserved high-selling album too. Just great journey. I went through a couple copies of it because lost disc 2 one time, lost disc 1 one time, and then all that fun stuff. So yeah, great choice. That's a good choice.
All right, bring us home, Mundy.
Okay. Well, again, Paul, damn it. So I upgraded my number 2 choice, and Tony's going to like this one. I went with Pinion and Wish off of Broken. And man, that, I heard Wish before I saw the video and stuff before I got the album. And when I finally got it, I put that on, and I was like, I pushed play and nothing was happening for a second. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And then I started hearing this slow build and the volume kind of creeping up and just this monotonous and I was like, what the hell is this? And then Wish just boom comes right in, and man, it's just like a punch in the gut. So good. It's that Broken is probably, honestly, it's still probably my favorite Nine Inch Nails release. I love it front to back. So good. Yeah. But yeah, that's one of the best, man. That build and the release with when Wish kicks in is just amazing.
It is. And coming off of Pretty Hate Machine, like you don't expect that.
So
that
different.
album. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tons of growth between a first and second release.
Right. Well, great choice, Mundy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I knew you would like that one.
The teabag seal of approval.
Yeah.
Teabags.
That's awesome. No, I remember hearing that too, and it was just like this grind, and as short as that release is, it was on constant rotation for the longest time. And here's a question for any of you who had a copy of that on CD: did you have the version with the bonus tracks in the end, or the little micro disc?
I had both.
I had the bonus tracks.
Yeah.
I think I did too. It's in the other room. I saw it not too long ago, but I can't remember.
I like the cool like 4-way fold out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but yeah, I didn't have the bonus, the little mini disc. I just had the bonus, like track 98 and 99.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, that was probably a good idea at the time when the shelf came out. Nowadays, when people slide, it's like, well, good luck getting that back out of your car. So.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a great challenge. Well done, Mundy.
Thank you.
And the next challenge goes to Teabags.
Yes. So it's ironic because this kind of feeds into what Mundy was just talking about. But I was listening to Footsteps the other day by Pearl Jam, which also has the same music as, I think, Times of Trouble by Temple of the Dog. But Footsteps was only released, I think, as a B-side to a single. Never on an album until later on when they re-released a bunch of stuff. But so I was going to say the 3 best B-sides or bonus tracks.
Ooh, nice.
Thanks. And the bonus tracks have to be like unlisted, like kind of like that 98, 99. It wasn't.
Yep.
That's it.
Weekly challenge.
All right. 3 best B-sides or bonus tracks. Okay, got it. That's going to be a challenge because we're going to have to really dig back in now.
I have a question, just for clarification.
Sure.
Can I use Skid Row's entire EP B-side ourselves? That's all covers. Can I use that?
You can't use anything Skid Row if you read the bylaws to Wanderings and Wool Gatherings.
I disagree.
No, I'm just kidding.
Because Skid Row is an awesome band.
They are actually.
You can kiss my ass on that one.
Fair enough. No, I mean Sebastian Bach actually has a great voice, and I like Skid Row, but
Slave to the Grind is a very heavy album.
Yes.
Yeah. No, Mundy, if you follow my rules, you can do whatever you want.
That's true. I don't know why I even asked.
True. So
nice. Well, all I got to say is
challenge accepted.
Next week.
Nice.
All right. Yes, that will definitely be fun. And that brings us to the weekly review this week. Do we have intro music for that?
Not yet. I've been well.
Slacker.
Hey, folks, stick around till after the show. If you don't listen from this point on, fast forward to the end and listen to the track that I'm going to put on here. My daughter and I wrote a little tune about spring break
Oh yeah,
video.
I love the
they
preview.
should. Anyone that's listening needs to hear that because that was
Video's the
hilarious and
best
the video
part.
is great. Yeah, agreed.
Are you
So-
putting them both on? Oh, you can. Yeah, we can do that now. Now that we have video.
Well, I don't have the video finished yet. We're actually working on a full production. I've got some people coming over to be the live band, and we've been putting little scenes together and all that stuff. It's been a great way for her to enjoy spring
That's
break
awesome.
and do something creative and all that stuff. So I don't want to share it super heavily because it's just something for us to do, but family and friends, I definitely want to show off to them and show how awesome she is with rhythm and how much of a good sport she is with metal music for a 7-year-old. So
Yeah.
Well, the 1 minute behind the scenes video that we got was pretty awesome.
Yes.
All right. Well, we did review Mark Morton, Anesthetic. So who would like to kick us off a little bit?
I can say a little something about it if somebody else wants to.
Go ahead and lead off.
yeah, go ahead,
for it.
guest.
Okay, well, I suggest this one because I'm a big fan of Lamb of God. Seen them live a couple times. Mark Morton is one of their 2 guitar players, and he's amazing. I love his riffs and his grooves and Lamb of God. Just good stuff. So I was really looking forward to this one. And he released, 2 or 3 songs before the album actually came out. The first song they released was the last song on the album, so that was kind of cool or kind of weird. Usually, you release something early in the listing, but and then so the actual first song on the album is of course "Cross Off" with Chester Bennington, and it's really awesome to hear him again. Gone Too Soon. And I was a huge Linkin Park fan. I loved other stuff that Chester did. He's just an amazing singer. And it was really great that Mark got him to do this, obviously before he passed away. And so it was really cool to hear that. And one of the really cool things about that is I think probably because it's Chester, it's getting some radio play. And so, which is great for Mark. That's amazing. I mean, I'm sure a guitarist X from any band releasing a solo album probably doesn't expect anything like that. But Chester, everybody wants to hear more of him. So that's pretty awesome. I will say I do not love the rap section. I could have done without that part, but it's great. It's a good song. Great song. There's some really awesome guests through this whole thing. Second track, Sworn Apart, has Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach. It's a pretty decent song. Axis has Mark Lanigan from Screaming Trees. And I really like this song. I like Lanigan's vocals on the song. I heard an interview with Mark Morton, and he said Mark Lanigan is one of his favorite singers ever. So he was pretty stoked to be able to work with him. The Never features one of my favorite singers, Chuck Billy of Testament, and Jake Oni, who is from a band called Oni, and which I'm not terribly familiar with, but that song, he probably got Chuck because the song is super heavy and it's pretty awesome. Number 5 was Save Defiance, and Miles Kennedy. Man, this song was the highlight for me. I don't own a lot of Miles Kennedy stuff. I don't follow him a ton. He is a powerhouse singer. He does a lot of work with Slash. His recent stuff, Miles has sang on his stuff. He also is in the band Alter Bridge, which is most of the guys that used to be in Creed, and Miles sings with them. It's pretty good stuff. But man, that song just it smokes. That he's Miles is awesome, and that's a really great song. Blur has Mark Morales on it, who I'm not familiar with. He's from a band called Sons of Texas. Never heard of him.
I did a Google search and I thought it was Mark Morales from the Fat Boys at first. I was like,
Yeah, no, I saw that too. That's the
was like-
first thing that came up. I'm like, that is not Marky D.
no, no, sir.
Yeah, but it's pretty good. It's like kind of got a southern swampy feel to it. It's pretty awesome. This one, I cannot wait to hear what Tony has to say about it, because Back from the Dead featuring Josh Todd of Buckcherry. This is my favorite song on the album. No, I'm kidding. It's not great. I mean, if you could like mute his vocals, I would love the song, but I can't get past it. I just can't. I really can't. It's oof. Reveal with, I don't even know how to say her name, Naima Maddox. Not familiar with her at all, but the song is decent. I didn't love it. It kind of feels out of place. It's good that, you know, he does different styles and, you know, he's into all different kinds of music and stuff, but I didn't love this song. It did kind of make me want to check out more of her stuff, because she's kind of a singer-songwriter type. So I do want to check out more of her. It didn't turn me off of her voice. It just felt, I don't know, kind of weird. Imaginary Days, actually, Mark Morton sings on that one himself, which was a pleasant surprise for me, because I didn't really know. I've never heard him sing, because in his band, he's got an awesome singer. So, but it's really good. I like that song a lot. His vocals are good. I like the groove. The last song on the album was the first song that I heard. It's called The Truth Is Dead, and it features Alyssa White Gloves from, I'm blanking on her band.
Arch Enemy. Arch
Enemy. That's it. I always get them confused with another one, but yeah, it's Arch Enemy. And of course, Randy Blythe from Lamb of God. And it's really awesome. I like the contrast of her singing and his growling, but then they both do clean vocals together, which sounds great. Randy doesn't get a chance to do clean vocals that much, but he's great at it. It sounds awesome. And then she does her growly stuff too, which is great. I love it when a woman can kick ass like that. It's great. And that, my favorite part of that song is when the real groove kicks in about a minute into it. It's awesome. And that song, of all of them, that song, I think it's just because it's Randy with Mark, is the most Lamb of God feeling song on the album. So, but overall, I really loved it. I've been listening to it quite a bit. I will listen to it more, and I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5. And I dug into who else played on it a little bit, and some of the names I recognize was Dave Ellefson played some bass on it, of course, from Megadeth. Mike Inez from Alice in Chains played a little bit of bass, and Ray Luzier from Korn played drums on a couple tracks, I think. So, okay. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's good to see somebody I like putting out something they're proud of and having a little bit of success with it. So I liked it a lot.
Would you listen to it again?
I would listen to it a lot.
Okay, good.
All right, Teabags.
Well, and it's funny, I'll go back to Back from the Dead, because we had similar thoughts on that. I thought it was a good song. It had high energy, and I actually like how they did the chorus, but I do have trouble getting past that. We kind of had a little bit of a different opinion. As the Reveal, I thought was, maybe I liked it because it was just a good song to me, but maybe it didn't fit properly, on the album as much. I don't know for sure, but I did like Reveal. I liked hearing a female vocalist, and I kind of like the bass on that. And then a few other kind of highlights for me was Axis. I thought that was good. It kind of sounded really like a Natural Born Killers or David Lynch film soundtrack kind of feel. And then Imaginary Days was really actually solid for me. Like I listened to that one several times this evening before we got on here. And Cross Off again, same thing. I don't necessarily care about the rap portion, but it was great to hear Chester's voice again, and I think it was a great lead off track. I never really thought about that, but I do think the radio play or whatever kind of sharing it would get based on that is really cool because I thought it was a solid album too. I mean, I would probably give it a 4 as well, because at no point in time was I really like saying like, oh my god, how much more do we have to go or anything like that. I was really enjoying a lot of it. So yeah, solid 4 out of 5, and I would probably listen to it again.
Excellent. JPP.
I'll be swift on mine. Can you guys hear me okay, first off?
Yeah.
Okay. My interface is cutting in and out a little bit, so I don't know what's going on with it, so I just wanted to make sure.
Getting a little bit of a click.
That's why I keep hearing as a click, like somebody's like messing with a coin.
Yeah, I'm not sure because like all of the faders just kind of light up on it, so I'll have to get it figured out. Anyway, so yeah, listening to the album, I'll be brief. Overall, it was good. I wrote down some of my standout tracks on here. Of course, Cross Off was a great opener. Again, Chester gone too soon. We all said the same thing there, and it was just a fun riff and just good high energy. So this ties into the challenge nicely. It starts the mood for the album. The Never with Chuck Billy, the riffage reminded me of Low era Testament. Definitely had some James Murphy vibe to it, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. And then Back from the Dead, I wrote that one down because I listened to some of the album at home, and then we went to see the Lego movie, the sequel this week, and my daughter and I were in the car waiting on my wife. She ran into a beauty store that I had no interest in stepping into. It's like, we'll stay in the car. And so I was kind of skimming through the parts I missed, and that song came on. My daughter's in the back in her seat going, snapping her fingers to that intro. She really liked it. And then after that, she was just like, okay, I want to hear that intro again. So, and of course, saw it had explicit content, so I turned it down, so she wouldn't have to hear, any kind of F-bombs or whatever may have been dropping at the time. But, it was just funny that opening riff had a good shuffle and it just really caught her ear and she really liked it. Again, I like what Mundy said, as an instrumental, I would definitely really, really enjoy it. But, overall, just seeing my daughter fire up about, a hook and a groove was cool. The Truth is Dead with Randy and Alyssa White, I thought that was a good, give a kind of a nice round, rounded out in the grand scheme of things. So the other tracks were good too, don't get me wrong, but those really stuck out to me. I'd say that my overall impression of the album, much like when James Murphy went solo and did his album Convergent after it gave me that kind of same feel, except Mark had a lot of different vocalists also, but he really played on their styles quite a bit too with their songs, I feel like, whereas James was definitely, both albums play with different styles and kind of get out of their normal repertoire of playing, and I think it was just a fun experiment on both parts. But overall I'd say 4 out of 5. I wouldn't listen to the whole album again, but I'd definitely grab quite a bit of them and throw them in a playlist for sure.
Cool.
All right. What was your number rating?
4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a ton to add to what you guys said. Again, Cross Off, solid. For me, as I went through, I started listening to it, and I was like, did I hear that right? So I went back and I looked up the lyrics. There were just a number of spots where I thought the lyrics were really powerful. Like, heavy are the words that go unspoken, heavy are the promises now broken. Will you learn to love the taste of the destruction in your wake? Cross off the days. There are just some really clever lyrics that I thought throughout that whole song. Axis, I think we all... Oh, go ahead, Mundy.
Oh, I was just going to say that I didn't touch on it, but yeah, now that you said that, like the lyrics of Cross Off, after I listened to it a couple of times, I listened to it pretty hard and paid attention to the lyrics, and it's almost... I don't know if prophetic is the right word, but it's certainly poignant, considering what happened with him and his passing and all of that. And Cross Off I feel like it touches on a lot of the things surrounding, like you could get from the surrounding of his death and all of that. Like, I mean, it sounds like it's coming from a guy who's not in a great place, or it's certainly at least about someone who is not in a great place.
Or somebody who's causing others. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, just what you said there. He says, "Can't kill the pain. It's everything. It's all I feel. It's what I breathe. Turn the hate I breed into what I need." It's there's just so many spots in that song that I thought the lyrics were just right on point.
Uh-huh.
I agreed with everybody on Axis. I thought that was a really strong song. And Lanigan for me is kind of interesting because, he was just smoother in Screaming Trees, probably because he was younger. Now his voice is a little more gravelly, and I think in some ways better. Kind of reminds me of Johnny Cash a little bit, how he just became so much more powerful as his voice changed as he got older. I feel the same here about Lanigan, and that was a great song. And then I agree with Tony on Reveal. Right off the bat, I thought, damn, that is a great bass groove. And then as it went in, then all of a sudden there's a little piano accompaniment. It is definitely different than everything else on the record, but that groove hooked me right off the bat. I thought that was really cool. And those are the three that jumped out. Everything else I felt there was nothing throwaway. But the other ones didn't catch me quite as much as those. But I will go back and listen again, because sometimes it just takes a few for things to grow on you. And I would give it a solid 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, well reviewed by the gang here at Wanderings and Woolgathering. Who recommended that we do that one?
I did. Yeah, because I'm a Lamb of God fan, and that's where he came from.
That's what I figured. By the way, you mentioned when you're a baby metalhead, and I think we need to make a graphic for that for the website. So I'll get with you.
I think I know somebody who's pretty good with Photoshop who could probably make that happen.
Yeah. Well, but they'll definitely. If I can get it animated, we'll do that.
Right.
Can't wait.
I may have some pictures from 7th grade for you too.
Well,
Okay.
Tony, you already gave me my background photo with the Backstreet Boys, so if you can pull that off, then that would be my profile picture.
I'll try to do one a month for you, so you can switch them out.
Nice.
That would be awesome.
Oh,
Okay, so for next week's review, we don't have one yet. We'll figure that out, and we'll post it online once we do. Let's do a quick round table before we send it off for tonight. What's everybody listening to this week? Metalhead?
Listen to Mark Morton a lot, and I was kind of going through a few things, trying to figure out my album openers. So, a little bit of Megadeth, a little Slayer. I didn't have to listen to Nine Inch Nails, because that one, I was just like, boom, that one immediately grabbed me. So, that's really, I listen to podcasts while I work all day. So, one of my favorites came back. They were off for a while. So that I would recommend to any music fans. It's a podcast called Disgraceland. And it's basically a true crime meets rock and roll. Every episode, he kind of takes one was Jerry Lee Lewis. Basically, kind of sounds like he may or may not have killed one or two of his wives. So he kind of delves into that.
okay.
He just came back this past week with a 2-parter about Kurt Cobain and his lovely wife. So I haven't delved into that yet. I've been waiting for the second part to come out so I can listen to both of them together. But it's really great. Every episode he kind of tackles a different rock and roll related crime, and he does it in a super interesting way, and it's great. I really look forward to that show.
Cool.
Excellent. Teabags.
Well, in listening and preparing for the challenge, I didn't put any of these in my list, but I wanted to hear what Led Zeppelin opened with, because I always listen to their music, but never start necessarily on song one. And just like Metallica, man, they have so many good ones that just lead off, solid albums. So, got me listening to Led Zeppelin again a lot more. Steve, you sent me an article, an interview with Maynard, and in that he mentioned Love and Rockets, and I realized I hadn't listened to them for a long time, so went back and listened to Love and Rockets. Saw there's a video for Heart's Filthy Lesson by Bowie, and that's been around since like 94, 95, and I didn't know that the video existed. So went
That
back
is
and
a
listened to that.
fantastic song. I
It
love
really
that
is.
song.
And the song "Underranged" off that same, well, I don't know if it's the album, but that's a good. Those two tracks are good. I found a new track called "Electric" by Clara Nova, female vocalist, but some nice electric sound. And then I don't know if you guys watched this or not. A friend of mine at work turned me onto this, but it's on Hulu. But there's like 5 seasons. It's called Letterkenny, and it's like a sitcom. Used to be on Crave TV. I will separately send you guys one of the cold opens from the show. And if you don't love the cold open, then I don't know how we're all friends. But I'm just loving it. It's so hilarious, and it takes a while to get used to, but it's a great show. So between watching Letterkenny, listening, I've been listening to Ron Burgundy has a podcast. I don't know if you know that or not.
Oh God,
Yeah,
I
yes.
saw that it was coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't spoil the first one for you, but the first 7 minutes of the first one are him trying to figure out what a podcast is. So that's pretty interesting.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. So, listening to podcasts, watching a little Hulu, and listening to some music, it's, that's a good life.
That's awesome.
JPP, what's in the player?
Obviously, after coming down from the Metallica experience, I certainly went back and started listening to a lot of the discography. I will say the Black Album is a great album, and the problem I had was Sad But True was on the radio or on MTV all the time. Heavy hitter, low tune. I mean, it's a great song, but I couldn't get away from it. So after a while, you're just like, need to take a break from it. So I probably haven't listened to that song voluntarily for 15 years. They played it live and made me fall in love with it all over again. So I listened to that and, got my socks knocked off. Oh, by the way, I was able to get a hold of a couple of picks at the show too. And one cool thing that these guys did is they really paid attention to details. For every city they're in, the picks have something iconic. For Indianapolis, it's the St. Elmo Steakhouse. They had the state flag with the Metallica logo all over the cubes that were coming up and down throughout the show too. So all of that, just that entire experience really made me go back and listen to everything. If you listen, I don't know if they have it on Spotify or not, but if you listen to any of the albums on Apple Music, you can get versions with extra tracks. So there's like James demo tapes of some of the tunes. There's live performances. There's them working out the arrangements of the songs, and just really interesting takes of how those tunes evolved before they became the final product on the album. So big piece of that in my repertoire. Listen to some, some classic 80s, because I binged the first 2 seasons of Glow on Netflix this week.
Such a good show.
Oh man,
great.
My grandpa. Go ahead.
Marin is amazing in that show.
Oh man,
I love it.
Yes.
What's funny is I feel like he really wasn't acting. He was just being himself, but just reading lines. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck, man? You know what I mean? And all that kind of stuff. It's just great character. I watched it out of the fact that my grandpa and I used to watch wrestling a ton when I was a kid, when I was over at the house, and every once in a while Glow would be on. So I just remembered that experience, and I thought I would check it out. And of course, it's kind of a fictional enactment of that whole time.
Yeah, it doesn't have the real characters or anything, but it's kind of the basic idea.
Yeah, but such a great story. I mean, like writing characters and developing them over time. I just really enjoyed the way they put it all together. And the classic 80s tunes were certainly a nice touch sprinkled in here and there, especially with show opener and closing credits and stuff. So I thought it evolved nicely, and I did see at the end that another season will be coming. So I'll stick around for that for sure.
I listened to WTF, Marin's podcast, and I think they just finished filming season 3.
Awesome. It'll be interesting to see where they take the story for sure. Trying to think of anything else exciting. And other than that, just listening to my daughter scream vocals for me, and writing some riffs. I've been really fired up with the guitar again after watching those guys, and I've been just playing a ton. And I spent a good chunk of today with a little practice amp out in the living room, and my French bulldog was sitting there tilting his head, looking at the amp, going, "What the hell are you doing?" kind of thing. But
he was headbanging
in his own canine way. Yes, certainly.
Exactly.
So it was fun. I'm kind of putting together a list of riffs to start tracking and recording. And, you know, though I've been working on electronic albums for a while, I kind of want to put that on the back burner and kind of fall in love with the guitar again. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Cool.
Excellent. Yeah, we can't wait to hear more of your guitar work. It is
thanks.
excellent.
Shucks,
fellas.
G
All
really
right.
What about you, man? What's going on with you?
This is the G-rated show. Golly
That's
gee.
right.
Okay, so I never listened to as much during the week as you guys do. Hopefully here over spring break coming up, I'll get to do some more of that. I did listen to, I've managed for the past month or so to average about 5 workouts per week. So I'm pretty excited about that. This week, my playlist for all of them was Gojira Magma from 2016. It is a super hardcore record that is fantastic for working out. That'll probably maintain that playlist for a little while because it's just great when you're working out. Of course, listen to Morton a few times. Friend of the show, Kyle Brust, was over with his son this weekend, and his son asked me to listen to Kill Switch Engage. So I listened to some of that. And
yes, one of my favorites.
Yep, it was pretty good. So I got to give him the thumbs up. And I will check out more of that. I just kind of went through the, at the top of Apple Music, it has their top songs or whatever. And so I just scrolled through and let it play.
They're interesting because their original singer, Jesse Leach, left. And then they got Howard Jones, who is also amazing. And then Howard kind of had a little bit of a mental breakdown and left the band. And Jesse Leach came back and has been on their last several records. And I mean, both singers are fantastic, so you really can't go wrong. I mean, all of their stuff is great. But Howard has, he's taken care of all of that stuff, and he's in good health, and he's, great mentally, and he's kind of back in the game, but he's just started his own band instead of coming back to Kill Switch. But they're all still friends. He hangs out with them still, and they it's like one big happy family, and it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I like it because it's a good mix of growl and singing. So
yes,
pretty dynamic. I like that. And then the rest of the week, my Chicago Blackhawks about 2 weeks ago were 11 points out, and they are knocking at the door of the playoffs now with some splendid play lately. So the wife and I have been thrilled to no end, so we're super excited about that. And other than that, I just finished another class in my master's building administrator program, so I'm inching to the finish line. I cannot wait because I hate it with passion. So that's it. So anything left for the good of the order?
I gave you guys crap over text, but no one mentioned the anniversary of the Downward Spiral last week.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Who did that one? I can't remember.
Nope, nobody did. I posted it on the Facebook page and told a little story about. I remember going to go. I wanted to get it on CD, but I had like $15 on me, and the cassette was $12, and the CD was $16.98, and I was like, well, I'll just have to get the cassette. That was kind of my little story on it, and I could have expanded and went to, pardon me. I remember going to get the ticket. My mom drove me over to Karma Records. I got my ticket, and I'm going to the show, sweet, all that stuff, and. But I didn't want to steal your thunder on that, to be honest with you. I thought, that would be something that you were so deeply invested in that I felt that was, not my duty to take your spot on that. But I know it's a week late, but nonetheless, if you want to do that now, you can. If we want to make a micro episode and post, we can do that too. Your choice.
I think it's going to be so in depth that when we get the website up and running, I'll post something pretty in depth on that one, because that was a life changing.
Right.
And like opening tracks go, I mean, Mr. Self Destruct.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. So
does anyone remember? I have it's like a double VHS of some project he did like around that time, And I haven't seen it in so long, like I can't remember a ton about it. I would love to find that on DVD, but I mean, because I'd love to see it again. But like I said, I have a VHS copy, and obviously I'm not watching that anytime soon. So
Yeah, I have that. I think that was called Closure.
yeah,
That sounds right.
I think I still have that.
I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of behind the scenes stuff, not necessarily the making of, but the touring aspect.
Yes.
And then I think one was a collection of videos.
I'd love to see that again.
Yeah. But man, if I can find mine, I'll convert it and upload it.
Oh, right on.
Cool. Real quick too, you guys saw I posted probably earlier on Facebook the Dick Dale passed away this weekend. Great surf guitarist legend. Truly a bummer. The saddest part about that is I saw an article where he said he had to continue touring in order to stay alive, to pay for his health insurance, to fund his wife's medical expenses and stuff as well. And that's just a shame that of course the music industry is one that it's certainly hard to make an earnest living, depending on where you're at and the status of things. But, the fact that, he had it to the point where he couldn't comfortably retire or anything like that, it's really tragic. And, his tune is an iconic part of the Pulp Fiction film, right? So, and I first saw him on the movie Back to the Beach when I was a kid. He was in the house band with Stevie Ray Vaughan, and it turned me on to Fishbone and all that kind of stuff too. So he's always been a part of my life. And I remember at Christmas I got CDs before I got the CD player, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? But one of them was a compilation of surf guitar tunes, and Dick Dale was on that as well. So he's always been somebody that's been in my my eardrums through my history of learning guitar, and he will certainly be missed as well. And thanks for the years of music and your legendary approach to playing a right-handed guitar left-handed. So
yeah, and he was also a huge influence on a lot of the metal guys, because I mean, you listen to that surf stuff, that's where the wrist comes from, man. It's thick. And you listen to the surf stuff and you throw distortion on there and you've got metal practically.
Pretty much. Yeah. Just tame the reverb a little bit.
Yeah. So with him and the Ventures and that kind of stuff, like they're huge influences on a lot of the metal guys.
Yep. And it's so fun to listen to. It was real catchy, and it was a really good groove, really good time in guitar driven music.
Excellent. All right. Let's fly out of this program with where we can find you. Mundy, where can we find you online?
Still on Facebook under my name, Jeremy Mundy, Mundy. Lacey and I, my wife, we share an Instagram. It's at the Munsters, THE_MUNDSTERS. And I'm still looking into starting the Metalhead Mundy Instagram. I think I'm going to try to make that happen here in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
Excellent.
Do it.
Teabags, where can we find you hanging out?
I see what you did there.
Outside of some 70s terry cloth shorts. And,
or an open robe or two.
Exactly. Hey, thanks for bringing the paper up.
Bleach my eyes, bleach my soul.
And Facebook mostly. Still trying to post there every once in a while, and hopefully that website will be up next week, and then I'll be on there.
Great.
Excellent. Paul,
you can find me at Instagram under just plain Paul. Also Wanderings and Wool Gathering on Instagram, and Wanderings and Wool Gathering on the Facebook page. So feel free to drop us a message or leave a comment and that type of stuff. If there's anything you want us to touch base on that we haven't covered, leave a comment. We'll be happy to review it. And you can even input from previous challenges. We certainly welcome any type of dialogue in that regard, because this is an open dialogue. And, there's things that, we are exposed to music in our own ways, and we have our own sum of experiences and journeys. And we'd like to hear, some of the things that you may have encountered in music through the years, be it your experience with vinyl or cassettes or whatever it is. We certainly are open to hearing it, and we love the experiences, because everyone has their own journey. They experience music in their own way, and that's what it's about. It might not be my favorite band, but at the end of the day, if it makes you happy, I'm happy for you.
Excellent. And you can find me, Twitter, Instagram, Foggy's Pal. You can also find me over at Break the Fourth and on Facebook. And gentlemen, I'm pretty sure with tonight's podcast, we have saved miracles. So congratulate yourselves. And we will be back next week with our 3 best B-sides or bonus tracks and a mystery review. See you next week. Bye now.
Hey kid, pick up your toys.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, time to brush your teeth.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, comb your hair.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, turn off that TV.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, leave the dog alone.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, do the laundry.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, take out the trash.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, feed the cat.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, get out of bed.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, eat your vegetables.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, turn the music down.
Now, I'm on break.
Hey kid, close the fridge.